Hey, you like cars? How am I looking? How am I feeling? Excellent podcast time. Okay. It's back. The CarQuicks Podcast. I took a slight little break. Probably not even really a break. I'm probably still on my same schedule, but it's season 2 now. Season 2, CarQuicks Podcast. You know I'm not getting rid of the scene clapper. Season 2, episode 41. Yeah, we're starting this off appropriately. How's your 2024 treating you? I mean, I know it just started, but hey, maybe you got some things that, the resolutions are going good. The things that you want to change and do, the family's doing well, and I'm happy for all of that. But we're here to talk about some car news, as per usual. I'm looking down on the floor because I just felt something rolling around, and I don't know what that was. So, we're here back for the CarQuicks Podcast. I got some news today. We got some news today. I'm not even gonna... We got a good one today. Now, like I always say, we're driving right in. So, Tesla Model 3 got a redesign. And it's been since 2016. It's been about 8 years that we've been looking at the same Model 3 running around the streets of whatever city you live in the U.S. I am sure you have seen a Model 3. So they redesigned it, slimmed up the headlights, kind of chiseled out the front bumper. It no longer looks like, a chin. It kind of now has some definition into what they're doing. It's still familiar. Like the front end falls in line with the Model S, how they redesigned that, falls in line with their whole design language. So they're kind of chiseling up the front ends in the side to kind of give it some more definition. Because prior to that, I mean, everything just didn't really look like much. It just looked like a large chin on the front bumper, especially for the Model Y. The Model Y was like, that whole front end was just like wide open, nothing there. So, slimmed up the headlights, chiseled up the bumper. On the inside, it's still minimal. It's bare as an unfinished IKEA display. Listen, you get the big screen, which from the pictures, as you see, if you're watching the video of this, the screen looks a little bit bigger, but that could just literally be a placebo and me just not paying attention to the overall size. I do not think they increased the size of the center screen on the dash of the Model 3. They have the screen in the rear now, which is still at the most inconvenient angle I've ever seen for a rear seat monitor or mounted TV. It's at the bottom of the center console, which I've read reviews and they said it's not bad. And I'm like, that's just us giving passes for something that inherently should have been in the headrest. I mean, let's be realistic here. Nobody's trying to look down with their head down, trying to look at whatever's on the little screen, when you could very well just look up and have it on the back of a headrest or some center mounted display. So, I mean, they're not going to do that because of the panoramic roof and all that. But listen, the headrests are right there. And we've been putting TVs in headrests since the 1990s. Okay, so it's nothing new. The dashboard is now a wraparound design, which looks a lot better. It kind of integrates into the door cards and makes it kind of slimmer and cleaner. So I prefer this look. It does look better. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of the, minimal interior they're doing. I think it's a lack of design, honestly. Like, I know minimalism is a thing and it can apply itself very well into design, into housing and architecture. But for the Model 3, as the time goes on, I guess it can feel dated or it can just be very familiar and you know what you're getting. And they just tweak little things here and there. The price overall is starting at $40,000 for the single motor one and $47,000 if you get up to the dual motor. They haven't shown the performance one, which I'm sure is going to be in the 50s or mid 50s. You'll get 272 miles per range on the base single motor one, 0 to 60, 5.8 seconds. On the dual motor, long range one, you get 341 miles, 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds. Now, the question you really need to ask yourself, because the way Elon has been rocking with the prices, he might wake up after you order this and decide to chop $5,000 off the price tag. So you got to live with that, because if you're buying this to hold any type of remote value, I got another thing coming, I got something else to tell you. It ain't going to be a good thing. You should definitely not be trying to do that. Now, it's currently available right now to order. The overall car is good. Like, it's not a bad car. I don't think it's overly exciting, but that probably wasn't Tesla and Elon's whole entire MO. It wasn't to be the most exciting car. But they wanted to make something that everybody could buy. It can do what it needs to do. It can plug into the infrastructure. It can get you from point A to B. It is as utilitarian as a Toyota Camry. But I probably might lean towards a Toyota Camry if somebody offered me the option of a Model 3 or a Toyota Camry. I mean, there are certain things about the Model 3 and Tesla and, like I said, the minimalist look of it that sometimes I just don't like. I'm like, I need some more character. I need something to look at. I don't want to be driving a car and you already get bored from long drives. Like, you're driving a long time, you're getting tired, you're getting sleepy, and you look around the dash and it's sleepy too. It's also boring. So you just like, good night. Auto drive. Hopefully you got me. Now, that's not even the end of the EV thing. This is going to be a heavy EV episode. So if you're not an EV person, or feel like this is propaganda, just rock with me. I got you. It's CarQuicks, me. I got you. This episode won't be so bad. But we got a couple EV things going on. Honda released their new logo for their EV cars, which looks like an H in italics. A little bit different. You see it on the screen. It's a little bit different, but I'm not mad at this, right? There is a benefit to them doing this, and it is very smart. Because what happens with manufacturers, like, let's take the Ford Lightning, for instance, right? Not the Ford Lightning that the car people really are talking about. We're talking about the Ford Lightning EV. Now, the Ford Lightning looks like a Ford F-150 unless you can notice that the headlights and the taillights are totally different and you recognize that it's the Lightning. What Honda's doing here that I do like that idea is that they're separating their EVs from their normal cars. So what they're doing here, was not the microphone off. What they're doing here is that they're at least putting a differentiator between the two cars. You see the normal Honda logo, and you're going to say that's their ICE gas-powered hybrid cars. You see this new designed H sign, you can say, oh, that's for their EVs, especially considering that they use the color, this bluish color they have for the background of the emblem, as opposed to black or red that they've used on the normal Honda logo. We get a separation. Now, the good thing, too, is that if they wanted to later on introduce some form of EV specific dealership model, then now we have the logo for it. So that if you're driving down the road, you see a Honda dealership, they may also put a building next to it only for their EVs with that logo. So that's the EV side. This over here is their normal Honda side. So I'm not mad at this idea. It could very well pan out to be something smart that all the other manufacturers are doing. But the most important thing they did is, alongside of this announcement, right now, what they have going on, the CES, Consumer Electronics Show. And look, Consumer Electronics Show is all the electronic companies, LG, Motorola, all the companies that are making cell phones. Apple doesn't really show up to these that much, but you get a lot of the Android manufacturers. You'll get Google, you'll get the home automation companies, you'll get a lot of the, things like that. Arlo cameras, you'll get Ubiquity, you'll get new, Asus, products and Wi-Fi routers. It's all the consumer electronics and IoT devices are at this show. But EVs have now become a place where they show them here because consumer electronics, EVs, is they kind of marry each other, or at least they try to. I don't think they always do it when it comes to this show. So Honda announced 2 new electric concept cars, and these things are straight out of Star Trek, okay? Blade Runner, Fifth Element. If we get these Honda concept EVs in production form, this fell out of Fifth Element. Call me Corbin Dallas, okay, if I'm driving one of these. I just want you to look at this, right? The first one that they got out is called a Saloon. Now, I know this looks super futuristic. I know crazier things have been produced. So we have a Cybertruck. The Cybertruck is out. It's on the streets. It's driving around. It's getting stuck in snow. It's doing everything that trucks do. And it looks exactly like we saw it come out. So we know that somebody can build a super angular, sharp-edged vehicle and put it on the road. The saloon that Honda's showing is so crazy that I'm like, do it. I said it before. If we're going to show these concepts, if we're going to keep doing this, just do it. Like, let's have fun. Let's make this exciting. Like, it's no need to that everything has to be so much tied into our normal cars. I don't want them to make something that looks like the Accord or looks like the Odyssey or looks like a Pilot. There's no need to do that. Just come with something fresh and new. There's no allegiance to it. Keep the hybrid and the consumers that are happy with the CRV and stuff like that. And maybe later on you can kind of inch in the EV version of that. But out the gate, I think it is smart to just, here's a brand new model. It's from the same company, Now, one of the benefits that they're doing is that they're bringing in some battery technology that has less degradation over time, which is what they are quoting 10% or less over a 10-year period, which is the sweet spot of the battery life, because they talk about how long people own cars or keep them. And 10 years is the average that most consumers are keeping their cars, save for, the super classics or things that, anomalies, outliers for the people that have cars that they kept for 20 or plus years or so. So the first one is called a saloon. The production is slated for 2026. Now, it's 2024. In 2 years, they're saying this thing is going to be out on the road looking, I don't know how, in whatever production form they do. It looks like a door wedge, but I'm not mad at how it looks. I know the interior and the steering wheel and all this, the concept version of that is definitely not making it into production. They're going to clean that up and do something. But the exterior, save for the LED looking screen dome, infinity display on the front bumper, this could come out how it looks. Alongside of that, though, they have something called the Space Hub. And the Space Hub is literally a rolling living room. It's a minivan. But if you look at the interior, what they did here is made essentially a wraparound couch on the rear, a la Volkswagen bus. We've done this before. It's not like a brand new concept, but they basically made a version of a minivan that has like a wraparound couch in the rear, panoramic roof. It's basically what they're saying for the concept is that it is made for families to connect, to drive. Obviously, that's just a bunch of extra for the sake of marketing, because realistically, if you throw people in the back, unless you're hiring a driver, it's just a normal minivan. The saloon, though, even from the outside, I'm like, y'all could do this and you can make it. The Space Hub, they haven't said what it would cost or what they would do. They haven't said anything about the price or the technical matter, but what they did say is that the design language or the idea around Honda's EVs is to be thin, light, and wise, which that's their words. What I'm guessing is that they're saying we're not going to follow the normal trend of EV SUVs or cars, which is really heavy cars, 10,000 pounds, like the Hummer EV or the Silverado EV pickup truck. They're not going to follow this ridiculous nature of making things super big, overly designed, just keeping it simple. Essentially, the ethos of who Honda is. Keeping it simple, keeping it clean, reliable. We'll see what they do. It's called the Series Zero. That's these two concepts. I don't know if these are just design languages or design practices or just showing you a little bit of what they're doing with the logo, and just want to show you two cars that I don't know if they're even running. They could just be display cars, but they said in 2026 we're seeing the first one. It's quoted as called the Saloon. I'm sure the name will change as we come closer, but we're only 2 years out before we should see Honda, their new EV logo and their new EV somewhere floating around. Continuing on to the EV world, we're about to get the Lego version from Kia. Now, you're like, what are you talking about, Legos? Kia is introducing, or they're trying to introduce, but they showed the concept idea of an EV utility vehicle. Think of like those Ford box vans that they use to haul and deliver stuff. Think of cars like the Ford box van, pickup trucks. And they're making an EV that is modular. Now, I know the dream of a modular cell phone died at the hands of Google and other companies multiple times. The modularity is not an easy idea. It sounds cool. It sounds like you can have one device that lasts forever because you can keep changing out modules. But the reality is it ain't easy to do that. And it ends up in some bulky, funky looking design. But Kia is making what they call the PBV, which is Platform Beyond Vehicle. So they have this thing called, I think it's called like the K5. It's a pickup truck. You see it. The pickup truck can essentially have the whole rear taken off and a van portion plugged in right on top. Legos. I could take this piece off, take the top part, put it right on top. Now I have a delivery van. I could take that piece off, put on a larger one. Now I got a box truck. I could take that off, put on a rear cab with like seats, I guess, that are modular that, click in, plug in wherever they go. Now I got a taxi cab. That is what they're pitching. Now, there's so much about this that they said this is expected, the first vehicle is expected in 2025. I want to say something about all these numbers in these years. These are optimistic, highly. Take some salt, not a pinch or not a grain. I want you to take a teaspoon and use that as a basis of what you're doing. Take this with a teaspoon of salt because 2025 is literally next year. Now, unless Kia ramps this up, they have a dedicated factory they're building in South Korea only for the PBVs. And they're trying to get in on what Rivian has done with the Amazon trucks. So if you live in a neighborhood and you've seen those electric Rivian Amazon trucks going around, Kia is trying to make sure that they are also a player in this type of commercial utility delivery vehicles, and they're making an EV. The modular aspect of this, which is going to come out in phases, is what I'm interested in. I can see them releasing the pickup truck or a van or a sedan or whatever it may be, but are you going to deliver on this idea of me basically building an erector set out of my cars and my fleet? I drive in on the taxi, I take off the back, put on the flatbed, I go haul some stuff pick up some stuff from Home Depot, come back, put the van part on it, haul something up. If they're going to deliver that, I want to know how you're doing it too. Are these pieces, what are they made out of? Some light carbon fiber, polycarbonate? Can I pick it up by myself? Do I need a crane? Do I got to deliver it to a dealership to have them swap out my part that they're storing there in order for me to become a van? These are questions that need answers. And I don't really know how they're going to pull that part off. But hey, if they're willing to show off the concept and to do it, I think very well they could do something similar, or at least offer you options where it's like, hey, the pickup truck can get, you can put the bed on the back, you can put the box part on the back, similar to like pickup trucks that have a canopy top. And that's easy to do with one person or three or four people to put it on. So it's interesting. I know it's EVs, like I've said before, is a time when they're getting all these crazy ideas out, and some of them should be delivered. I think some of them being delivered makes it very interesting for those that may not want to marry their idea to electric vehicles. Like I said before, that's one story to what the future is. I don't think gas-powered cars or hybrid cars go anywhere. I think they just join the party, and we got multiple avenues that you can go. I was speaking about some other cars and some other companies that are doing wild stuff. Like this is, listen, I would have thought that Volkswagen would have learned their lesson when they got so much backlash from removing all the buttons off the dashboard. Okay, when they thought that we wanted to see fingerprints and piano black all on our dashboard, they got a bunch of backlash. But they're coming back and they're doubling down on what I would think is not the smartest thing. So Volkswagen announced that they are going to put ChatGPT, not the full. They're teaming up with a company called Crescents that is creating technology that uses ChatGPT, and Volkswagen is obviously licensing it from them, or they bought the company, and they're integrating all of this into every single Volkswagen car, especially the EVs. But it's coming to the Tiguan, it's coming to probably the Atlas, and it's coming to the new Volkswagen Golf, and I would assume the GTI. Now, besides the fact that the GTI will not be a manual transmission, we already went over that many podcasts ago. It's a sad state of affairs. I'm not mad at the concept of the EV they showed, but I mean, still, sad state of affairs. ChatGPT in a car, even with an AI system that is using technologies to help with voice recognition, where you're going, destinations, probably trying to think of something to give you or offer you on your route to wherever you're going. It's probably trying to learn what you're doing. I'll give you a perfect example, because this is the technology part of this is what I want to speak a lot about. The AI part of it and the learning part of it is going to be based on your driving habits, right? So Volkswagen says we're not storing your personal data, vehicle data. It's all just localized, so to speak, right? I'm putting up air quotes because I don't believe them. So the company that's running this has an AI system. They built it, they put ChatGPT on it, and now it's integrated into your car. So that's basically your whole voice system. But because it's AI and it's ChatGPT, it's bigger than just you telling it, hey, where's the local gas station? Hey, where's the closest place for me to get a sandwich? That's just simple voice assistance that Google Voice can do, that any of the car infotainment systems have done for years. This is going a step further in an area where I can see there could be a problem. This sounds to me like another version of a redo like they did on the buttons. But let me get to my point. Let's say you're driving somewhere, coming home from work, Monday through Friday. Every Wednesday or Thursday, let's say every Thursday, you stop off and you grab Chinese food for the same location every time. Thursday, it's a family thing. You go get Chinese food, bring it home on Thursday. Chinese food Thursdays. You do that for a couple weeks. Soon enough, the system would recognize that your location to your time to where you commuted from work always ends up at the same place every time. So the AI system would essentially start asking the question, hey, do you want to place an order for Chinese food this coming Thursday? Right? And you would probably be like, oh, that's convenient. I like that. Remember, I kept going there. Now imagine all of your errands. You're driving a car everywhere you're going. That's why when Volkswagen says we're not storing data, I'm like, well, how you got the system running then? Data is going to be stored. Now, you might say we are not storing it, but that means it's localized on the car. And if Volkswagen isn't doing it, it means that the company that they license the AI software from, because somebody has to run the data center. This is all data driven. This type of information cannot move back and forth across the networks without information being stored. There's no such thing as no information being stored. Regardless of if you think your personal information isn't there, something personal is there because you're driving around in the car and you're having conversations in the car and there are microphones in the car and there will be cameras in the car, because you have to understand that the AI system only functions with information that is given. So if you're on the phone talking, it's recording something, just like our phones are recording something. Something is being stored. The only thing is, Volkswagen and whoever this company is that's starting this AI and this ChatGPT integration, who are they? Who's controlling the data? Where's the security? Is there going to be security breach? I mean, there's a security breach and a ransomware attack every other day. I work in this field. It happens every day. So if they're the ones in control and Volkswagen's in control of it, and they're the ones that are trying to control the system and what you have to opt in and opt out of, it means data is being stored. Because here's one thing that I can guarantee they'll have. There will be a fine print and there will be a version or something that you can opt out or opt in on. And that means that there is some version of your data being collected. Because if not, there's no reason to opt out. There's also no reason to opt in. But if there's an opt-out version, it means that by default you opted in. All right. Remember, we talked about this. If there's an opt-out, it means that by default you're opting in. I don't know where this goes. ChatGPT on the business side of things, even when I use it in my line of work too. It is very helpful. But I don't know where it lends itself to being in a car, because AI systems that are business related makes a lot of sense. Personally related and how they interact and what you do with them, the jury is still out. We're so early on that I would not expect Volkswagen or any car company to then throw it into their entire lineup, because if something goes wrong, you have compromised your entire lineup. Let there be one attack or something on this system. If the bad players in the world see that you're driving around with 300,000 cars with this AI system, with people talking, chatting, and microphones, you're a target, which means that they're going to try to hit it. And if they do hit it, you're not just doing a recall. We're not talking about, hey, the seatbelt tensioner is not working appropriately. We need to do a recall for the part. You're going to be sending people like, we had a data breach. We don't know what they got. You're still driving the car. They might still be in there. We got to shut the whole system down. And matter of fact, bring your car in because we need to replace it with a whole nother car. Okay? Because you're integrating too tightly into it. I don't really know what Volkswagen's doing, right? Between the ChatGPT, the way they're doing their cars, taking away the GTI, taking away the manual, and there's nothing fun in there. Everything is just dual clutch and EV. I mean, they're finding their footing somehow, some way. But ChatGPT in cars, nobody after this. Like, nobody. And the few people that do use AI and understand its merits, there is a swath. There is a massive group of people who only hear something that sounds like there's no control over it and that is dangerous. And now you put it into your cars. So you're going to remove a big subset of people who would actually go and buy a new Volkswagen when this gets integrated. Who knows what they're doing? Speaking of another company that I've talked about before, but VinFast. Yeah, you remember them. The name, terrible. The EV startup, they're in the news. They sold, I don't know how many cars they sold in the U.S. I think maybe one or two poor souls decided to give them their hard-earned money, which was a terrible decision. But they're arresting people for talking about their cars. So somebody in Vietnam, Sonny Tran, a social media person who's been talking about the problems that VinFast has been having, the allegations on things that they have done. Like there's a rumor that they didn't really design the car, that it was sent off to China, and then it was, a whole bunch of stories are coming out. And reports are saying that they arrested this man and interrogated him for 36 hours. Took all his electronic devices, seized them, probably ramshacked his house, looked for all the information, basically trying to say that he has somebody helping him, puts a bad publicity out about the company, and VinFast ain't having that. They sent their boys. Now, with that being said, CarQuicks will no longer be talking about VinFast because they're playing for keeps. And so, with that, you've been warned, okay? Next topic. So, Fisker. I'm sorry. I mean, clearly, both these names are too close. But here we have, it's Fisker I'm talking about, right? I gotta go look this up because I'm about to say this so wrong, and it's gonna sound hilarious if I keep talking about a Fisker and I'm talking about Fisher. It's Fisker. I don't know why I'm saying Fisher. It's Fisher Price. I'm tripping. Okay, I'm back. Now, Fisker Ocean, the SUV that I talked about a couple podcasts ago. They had the little EV SUV out. I've seen one floating around on the freeway. They've only sold 50% of the 10,000 Fisker Ocean and SUVs that they have made as a new EV startup. Let me tell you something. I don't have an MBA, but only selling 50% of 10,000 cars is not a good startup and not a good way to have a functioning car company. So here's their problem. Fisker has to store 5,000 plus cars wherever they're storing them. So you're paying for storage and you're paying for fees. And they said that they actually have a better idea. And that was to open up dealerships. No EV company is doing dealerships. You want to know why? Because they're taking the middleman out. To not deal with the craziness and the ridiculous nature of dealerships and the good and the bad and the ugly ones, they go straight to consumers. Rivian, Tesla, Lucid, all of them straight to consumer because it's an easier business model, less overhead. Fisker says that if they go to a dealership model, it'll actually help them combat an issue they have, and that is that nobody knows what their cars are like because you can't see them. They have two showrooms, one in LA and one in New York. And if you're not in the New York, LA area or in any of those states, you're not going to go see them. So they said people don't want to drive 3 hours to see the car. I don't know if that's them not realizing that says more than they realize. Meaning, if you have a car that isn't compelling enough for somebody to want to drive to come see it, even if it's an hour away or 2 hours away or 3 hours away, you may not have a good enough product, or it might not be as compelling as you think it is because nobody's really going out of their way to come see it. I know people that are flying to other states to pick up Siennas. I know people going 8 hours away to pick up GR Corollas. I went 5 hours away. So if a 3 hour trip is enough to deter almost all of your potential customers to come to see your car, maybe it ain't that good. Maybe it ain't that exciting. I'm not saying this isn't a good car, but maybe what you built just gets lost in the sea of other SUVs, especially in the EV race. So they want to open up 50 dealerships in the US. And like I said, the selling point is to get customers in. But I don't know who is signing up to open up a Fisker dealership, knowing that one, the company couldn't sell all of their own inventory, that they're essentially asking you to open up a dealership so that you can hold their inventory. You can pay for all that. They'll help you with a little bit of the overhead. But they themselves, as the main company, couldn't sell all their cars. So now you're going to be tasked with hiring staff, techs, salespeople, administration, HR, front desk, sales manager, finance, lot porter. This is madness. All for a car that's unproven to be a hot seller now and when the years come. There's an easier way to do this. This has been done before. I'm going to give you a story. Many years ago, I used to deliver cars for magazine journalists, right? And one day, maybe we'll do my whole car journey story in an official podcast. But to make a long story less long, I used to deliver cars for magazine journalists in the New York, New Jersey media area, right? It was a very loophole job, but I drove everything from A to Z in a span of a few years I was working there. But one of the things that I did one time was when the Audi R8 came out and when Audi had these other cars like the RS4 when it first came out, they had a building in New York around Fifth Avenue called the Audi Forum. And the Audi Forum was their way of doing a concept where you would have all of Audi's cars available for you to see, set up a test drive without the heckling or out the pressure of a salesperson or a sales environment. It was like Fisker showrooms. They have one in New York, they have one in LA. Tesla did the same thing. They had their showrooms inside of malls. You can go see the car, talk about it, sit around with it, play around with it. And Audi did that for their entire scale of cars there. What Fisker is talking about, they already are doing. If you have a showroom in LA and one in New York, open up another one. Why are you only showing 2 showrooms if you only sold 50% of your cars? Open up another in every major city: Atlanta, Dallas, Houston, wherever. Or pick Austin, Miami, Chicago, Detroit. Pick more major cities and open up a showroom. Or yes, you will never have people go there. Or do a big forum place, or do a cross-country ambassador tour. I used to be a brand ambassador, product specialist for General Motors and a Cadillac brand. If you wanted to get people to drive the car, do a tour. Load up the cars. You get brand ambassadors, you get product specialists, you deliver and drive the cars around. They fly around to events, they show off the car, they test drive the car, they give people pamphlets. You make some random koozies and some accoutrements and some little random gig, doodads to give away. You got food. You set up a spot where every single major state, you're doing a Fisker Ocean ride and drive. It has been done time and time again. And I would imagine it's been proven to work because I've decided on cars based on being able to experience them without the pressure of a salesperson. And if you don't have a dealership around, you need that in order for people to trust the idea of what you're making. But to try to open up dealerships, I'm not even paid what these people are paid that run these companies. And I can tell you that doesn't sound like a smart business plan. You shouldn't be trying to open up dealerships in an arena where people are trying to get rid of dealerships, especially with markups, with dealing with salespeople, managers, and you trying to keep your brand as pure as possible. You've already come from the, rolls out the ashes after the original Fisker. So if you're here with the Ocean, which is a good car, a good EV to start off with, and it's an SUV, and that's what's popular right now, you should then focus on getting it in front of people, not making dealerships. I'm like, that don't make any sense. Cummins diesels. I mean, if you know about those trucks and Cummins trucks and diesel engines, well, they just got hit with the craziest fine from the EPA for $2 billion. I would go into all the intricate details, but here's the clear point. They put some cheating device on the emissions thing, similar to what Volkswagen did. EPA caught them. They fined them $2 billion. It's almost up to 1 million trucks have this, whatever device it is that is circumventing their normal emissions thing. So now they have polluted the air more. They're getting fined the way the EPA is acting with this Clean Air Act, if you are in some loophole, aftermarket company or manufacturer, anybody, you better button it up, okay? Because they're coming. And at the pace they're operating, they said if the fines have to go up, they'll go up, meaning $2 billion ain't to stop. They might go up to 5, 10, who knows? So Cummins is fighting them right now. We're defending whatever they said that they haven't done or have done. It's all allegations at this point until they have proven what's going on, even though Cummins said they would pay the fine. So maybe they don't even feel like litigating this, and they're just going to pay what they're doing. Now, continuing on down to further EV news, we have something else that got released. And this falls in line with what I've said before about certain EVs and certain companies. When they do the EVs always shoot to the top with certain specs and certain things that they're talking about, which I don't think is necessary, but this is the style we're at now. So there's an EV company arriving called Mullen. I heard that a few years ago they showed this concept at the LA Auto Show, but I actually missed it. I didn't see it. But at the CES show, like I said, Consumer Electronics Show, they showed off their high-performance SUV. Let me just run down the stats that you are pretty, at this pace, we're pretty much almost numb to or we're expecting. 1,000 horsepower. 850 foot-pounds of torque. Nuts. 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds. Under. Let's call it 1.8, 1.9. Still bonkers. Over 5,000 pounds weighing. 300 plus mile range. Brembo carbon ceramic brakes all around. 200 mile an hour top speed. 2-speed transmission a la Porsche Taycan. And it starts at $55,000 for the base. Now, I know you're not foolish enough to think that the base version is what I just ran them stats off of. The base version, $55,000, what I just read for it's called the 5RS, their high performance one, easily is $130,000 without question. Now, it might be $150,000. It's over $100,000. You're not, and if you're getting all that for under 70 or 60, you need to start asking your question. You need to start asking real questions. Will the door stay attached? Because you can't just get that much for the low ski. It just doesn't happen that way. They say it's an SUV. You see the picture. It looks like a hatchback or a wagon, and it looks like it was designed by Mansory because this looks, it's a little extra. It's very funky, sharp lines, a lot of ground effects, a lot of aero pieces. I'm not mad at the interior. It is just digital dash and steering wheel, but I see some little Alcantara. I mean, it looks cleaner than most. It's dark. It has a nice, sleek, futuristic look. But I have a question about why we keep making these SUVs like this. And I've said it before. Why can't we just get some simple, and I'm not saying we don't have it. The Model 3 falls in line with that. And there are some other EV cars, but I'm just talking about whenever we see a brand new EV coming out, it's always top of the spec, performance. And I'm like, the 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds, the horsepower thing is just gimmicky now. It's like, okay, fine, cool. We know EVs can be blistering fast from a dead stop. It's instant torque, it goes. But just show me the 400 horsepower version of this car. Like what? Okay, it starts at 55,000. What version is that? Like you give me the headlines and then you give me the extra low price to get people excited thinking that they'll get anywhere near this high spec one for that base price. What do I get for 55,000? Because it's probably going to be a 200 mile range SUV. It's probably going to be a 300 horsepower electric motor. It's probably going to be a 1-speed transmission, no Brembo brakes. And so now I'm like, is it worth that much? It's like you get to the accolades first and then they start trying to feed in when the real price is. I just think that whenever you're trying to make an exciting car, I think it will be better for EV startups to produce something that is relatable. When people see something that's relatable, like, oh, that's a nice utilitarian design, nice SUV. It's kind of boxy, kind of clean. It has space. It does what it's supposed to. I like that. Oh, that's a nice car sedan. It's not obtrusive. It's not in your face. It's nice, clean design. It got what you need. Just kind of basic, calm, nice, like nothing polarizing, which I know doesn't make headlines, but what will make headlines when people realize this company's making a very good car for a very good price. That's what sells, because the jury is still out. You might have a $500 reservation right now to reserve this, 5RS from Mullen with no ETA on delivery. So Godspeed on that $500. But can you make a good car? That is the question. Seeing it spin around on a turnstile and the, spokesperson reeling off all these stats, I'm like, cool, sounds exciting. Is the car good? Can it drive good? Does it have good dynamics? Is it safe? Does it have a network of, reliability? Not reliability. Does it have a network of service centers? Is it, reliable? Am I catching the first beta? What issues am I going to run into? Those things are what matter. Not it got 1,000 horsepower. I mean, like, who's shopping for these cars, and their stipulation is they're sitting down with their family like, listen, we got to get a new car. It has to have 1,000 horsepower because I need to be able to get 0 to 60 in under 2 seconds. I need it to have 850 foot-pounds of torque. It must have Brembo carbon ceramics. That's non-negotiable. And it needs to do 200 miles an hour. Who are these people? Those people are buying hypercars. They're buying Koenigseggs, Paganis. Who is in the EV range looking for that number? Nobody. It's a wild time. That's all I can say. The EV world is, for me, it is cool to see because it's so wild. It's just a free for all. So you get a lot of these grandiose ideas. And that is fun to see because a lot of times manufacturers that are out right now, they don't get to be too edgy. They only could do what's in their pocket so that they don't, shake the tree too much. But every now and then we do get them to shake the tree and something very cool drops out, like my GR Corolla. Haha, segue. So GR Corolla updates. I put on the Tom's Racing kick panel door protector. Put a video up on YouTube about it. I'll link it in the description maybe. And it helps cover up some of the scuff marks that inevitably happen when I got out the car and you scuff the door panel. And the plastic that's on the GR Corolla, or any plastic for that matter, once you scuff it, it's over. You could try to clean it, put some interior cleaner on it, try to shine it up. It's not going to matter. The tricks that I read that you could do, like using like a heating gun, I was like, I ain't doing that because I'm going to play myself, use a heating gun, do it too strong. And next thing I know, I got a melted door card. So I was like, Put on the Tom's Racing one, quick and easy, very clean. I love how it looks. Now I can kind of move my way up to different interior stuff. I have some parts coming in from Racer X, a new short shifter and bushing kit they want me to try out. I know. I somehow I'm like the shifter bushing king at this point because I've put on 3 sets. So I'm putting that on as a friend of mine on the weekend. Arcade Titanium released the information about their single exit exhaust. I'm highly intrigued. This sounds incredible. And I'm number one for the 2J Racing 3-tip exhaust. My friend Chris has it on his GR Corolla, and it sounds fantastic. So I am a fan of that one. This Arcade Titanium single exit one is right at my alley too. We're at 1 and 2, or they swap whatever day I feel like it. So the one thing that is coming guaranteed is the 2J Racing mid pipe. I'm not even worried about anyone else's mid pipe. Is 2J. That is it. Their joint is flawless. So I have the parts coming in. We're going to put them on this weekend. I'm recording a video. I have the video that I'm going to start recording for the review I'm going to do for the first car, which is one I own. But I have a very good take on reviewing our, Toyota Sienna. This is going to be a good one. Tokyo Auto Salon is about to happen. That happens next week or the end of this week. I'm saving all that because when that episode is probably going to come right behind us, this is going to be a JDM aftermarket extravaganza. Okay, I'm going to be neck deep in the JDM Tokyo Auto Salon news. Every YouTuber I follow that's in Tokyo, I'm following all their pages. I'm looking at all the walkthrough videos. I'm doing it all. I'm looking at everything. We got the Houston Auto Show coming up in a week or so. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be recording something with it. I might do a walkthrough video as well, too. I don't know. I might do like the car show experience. I haven't recorded anything at the Coffee and Cars events or when I go to like Catalina Coffee, but that's going to change very soon. And I'll start doing like a walkthrough one. I don't necessarily have to talk. I may do a talk one because I'm good at talking. Listen, I'm on the microphone now talking. I might do some commentary. I might just do a silent walkthrough with some music I made in the background. So I don't know just yet, but we're going to get to that soon. We're going to start that off. And other than that, the car's running well. The MST intake sounds glorious. The turbo's fluttering. The blow-off valve sounds good. I'm still wanting to do aesthetic stuff, but that's going to take time. Like I said, it costs money. Oh, Veris did release their kit for the GR Corolla, which looks good. I looked at it all day today because they showed the production official video and official photo of it. And while I do like it, I don't know if it matches the idea of what I want to do. So I don't know yet. I'm still flipping and flopping between this stuff, right? But what I'm not flipping and flopping against is the end of this episode. I'm glad y'all were here again. Season 2 just got started with episode 41. And I'm going to end it the same way I've always ended it. Do as you wish and do as you may. It's Cameron Biggs, your host. And this is CarQuicks. Welcome back. I'll see y'all soon.